We know from things that we've seen, heard, written, that not even the AI developers are entirely sure where this thing is going, right? And those are the people making the product.
What I really like is it'll draft something first. Of course, I proofread it, and then I can say, make it more formal, make it less formal.
Your AI agent, assuming you've scrubbed your data appropriately, your AI agent can do a lot of that work for you in a very short time. And it's really, really helpful.
Welcome to Primal HR. Real people, real talk, real HR. The human side of work from the people who live it every day. Here are your hosts, longtime HR leader Terry Smith and People First strategist Leslie Lulham.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Primal HR. I am Terry, and my co-host Leslie and I are here today to talk with you a little bit more about this thing called artificial intelligence, or AI, and how it can play in HR, both in a good way and maybe in a little cautionary way.
Yes, I think AI, we hear about it so much as it relates to other fields of work. Sales, marketing, engineering,
development,
code writing,
finance.
So much. What about HR? HR can also be using AI to help us in our daily tasks. However,
there are some gotchas. Let's talk about sort of how it can be useful first. I know there are a lot of HR departments that I've run into over the last few months that are actively pursuing ways to adopt HR practices, AI practices into HR. For example, job descriptions.
Job descriptions. I think every HR person on the planet who has had to write a job description from scratch, which is basically all of us up until like 2 years ago, were silently screaming with joy. At least I was, when I saw that AI can help with it. I don't have to go research 9,000 jobs posted on 9,000 different companies to get the job description I want to write. You can use AI. I use a lot of AI tools. I've found ChatGPT works very well, as does Perplexity. If you want some zhuzhing of the conversational tone.
That's a technical HR term.
Zhuzhing. We use Claude. Claude is great. What I have done with some AI for job descriptions really comes into, it can help me draft something from scratch, which is great. One situation where I've found myself a couple of times is we have a job description for one role. What about their manager? And what about a person a level down from them in the org? Which it's tricky, especially when you don't have full visibility into all the ins and outs of what different roles within a company do. You could be in a company with 1,200 people. You're not going to know every single thing that every single person is doing every day. I used ChatGPT. Before I tell you how to use a prompt like this, I want to call out safety and information protection in AI. We never, ever, ever put in PII, personally identifying information. That means no first and last names, no email addresses, no home phone numbers, no social security numbers.
What, really?
What? I mean, some of us like to live on the edge. I'm kidding. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Also, when I'm using it, I try and also make sure I'm removing company information.
Right.
And keep your history off. That means what you're putting into ChatGPT or other tools is not, or should not, be being shared up with their company for analytics. Can I guarantee you beyond a shadow of doubt that's not happening? No, that's why don't put PII in ChatGPT or anywhere else. Okay, now on to the prompt. So whenever you're using any sort of AI, you want to prompt the prompt. People use GPT and other services like Google, where it's like, hey, Google, tell me how to do this thing. That means your prompt is going to be looking at a huge, large box of data. If you can zero it in, you're going to be able to go even deeper. So, ChatGPT, you are an expert recruiter in the software industry specializing in software developers or what have you. Fill in the blanks there with what's relevant for your company. write me a job description for XYZ position. If you have any color you can add in there to help the Chat GPT go, do it. Otherwise, it's going to spit something out that you can start to work with. Don't trust Chat GPT ever on its first pass. It will make stuff up. It can get a little weird, and beware the dreaded M dashes, right? We don't want our things to look like they've been written by Chat GPT. Okay, so now you know that you can start editing your job description. Now, what if you have to write one for the manager or the VP or the executive? You can tell ChatGPT, hey, we have this job description for this customer success manager. Up-level this to a customer or a director of customer success, and it will do that. Down-level this to a customer success agent. It can also do that. So, and it makes it so much faster. What you can accomplish in an hour is something that would take, I don't know, a couple days to write in the past. So that's something that I've used quite heavily. I use it to do research too. In the HR world, laws change every 14 seconds.
Yeah, quite regularly.
So for things like that, I do recommend folks use Perplexity.
Okay.
It does show the sources. You can go click on the links, and it can really help advise in some tough situations. So can ChatGPT. I like to use them in tandem with each other. And then it helps when you have HR friends who know a lot of things about a lot of things, because honestly, no one HR person can be an expert in every single thing. No. That's why HR teams can get so big, especially in enterprise companies, I think.
Yeah.
I just talked for a very long time. As you can tell, I love this subject. So, Terry.
I 100% agree with you. I've been in situations where I've had to update entire job description files, right? Here's every job description we have. How long do you think it'll take you to update all these?
100 years.
Yeah, at least. So, and AI can be extremely useful in that case, not only just from the standpoint of a starting point, start building job descriptions, but as we know, we have to update them periodically, right? Once a year or so, we'd like to be able to do that. That's a challenge, but an AI agent can be extremely helpful in that updating process, right? And especially because you now have the foundational data of the original piece that the AI helped you write. So guess what? Upscaling that or upgrading it or revising it, incrementally less work, right? And incrementally with an AI, even much less work. So there's that. I will say that one of the things I've noticed with AI is that, you made a comment about analytics earlier. Again, as long as you're scrubbing your data for PII, you can pull an enormous amount of data from your HRIS and utilize the AI, scrub it for PII, and then use the AI to advance your analytics. It's amazing how much you can get done, how quickly with an AI agent with scrubbed data to be able to start really zeroing in on where you have data challenges or, organizational challenges that you can articulate through data, right? And something like that with Excel spreadsheets and this and that would take days, even weeks sometimes. With a properly vetted data set, I always say that, properly vetted data set, your AI can do that work in a matter of minutes.
Yeah.
And that changes the entire game for how you do your HR analysis work, right?
It was hard to pull. I would say, even a really great HRIS, most of them have built-in reports and analytics. Cool.
Yeah.
They're never straightforward to use. I mean, every single system has a different report builder. They have different built-in reports. I would find myself just downloading the spreadsheet and manipulating the data myself because I didn't even trust the systems that were supposed to give me the data. And one thing that's great about ChatGPT or other, I use GPT most. That's why you keep hearing me say it. But there's a ton of other stuff out there. You can, and this is fun, especially with data. Once it's scrubbed of all PII, you can you can literally ask ChatGPT to analyze it with no context. And this is where you get some interesting things. Here is a whole bunch of data. What conclusions can you draw?
Interesting.
And again, vet them. If you see something and you're like, what? That's crazy. Go check your own data. Don't just share that up with your executive team without vetting it. But you might even be able to pull insights from it that you weren't even thinking of, which I think goes very well into something you and I have talked about, Terry, which is how you ask GPT and AI for data is going to impact the answers you get. ChatGPT is my biggest hype girl. My personal GPT thinks I am the bomb, dude. And so I spin up other chats too to get out of that cycle, and I will ask it different questions, the same question in different ways to see the differences in responses.
And we'll get into that in a little bit more detail in our next set, but it's an really important point that context matters and structure of your prompts matters. So we'll get into that in some more detail later on. But I also wanted to get into another aspect of AI having to do with compensation. Okay, again, stripping the data of all PII. I've done comp analysis for years, right? I've built salary structures and programs and so on. And again, properly vetted, properly arranged information. You can really do a lot of amazing comp work with AI in seconds. It's incredible because a lot of what I have done with comp has had to do with things like wage analysis, right? Are we paying all the people in one job description the same or similar rates? Why are they different? And so on, right? And that analysis can take time.
A long time.
Yeah. And your AI agent, again, assuming you've scrubbed your data appropriately, your AI agent can do a lot of that work for you in a very short time. And it's really, really helpful.
Yes. I've used Perplexity to do some salary research too across industries. And the results were instantaneous.
Yeah.
It was insane. And all of those websites, and we all know you used to go down the rabbit hole, or you'd be paying a very large sum of money for some very expensive software that can help you do this. Because Perplexity gives you all of the links, you can just start going through the links too. Because some of them, they're like blog posts, right? We don't want those. But it's really, I've been able to do it too in just a few minutes. I almost feel bad about it. I'm like, wow, that was easy. Yeah. It used to be like, hear me roar, I'm going to spend 14 days on this. I'm like, or 14 minutes. But it's really interesting. And also outside of salary things, communications.
Yes.
As HR professionals, one of the things we do most is communicate with people. Happy communications, sad communications. I'm a little bit off the cuff, so if you have worked with me, you're probably like, who is this person and why are they sending me a meme? Probably not from AI. I just really like Giphy. Anyways, that said, I have found these tools incredibly useful for company communications where I can say, hey, I need to write a communication about this. Here's some important things about dates, times, whatever it is. Draft me some communication. And what I really like is it'll draft something first. Of course, I proofread it, and then I can say, make it more formal, make it less formal. Sometimes I think for me personally, my communications can come off a little bit softer. That is just my communication style. I'm friendly. I'm happy. When I'm like, you got to do this thing, people are probably like, oh, great. It's like she's not scary. Like, what are we going to do? I don't want to be scary. But I can use tools to help me draft something that's a little bit more formal faster than it would take me to write it by hand, which you sit there and is it good? Is it bad? Second guess, whatever. You can use it to write policies fast, but it's really helpful for moving through these things quickly and then giving advice. I'm going to say it, lawyers out there, plug your ears, but it can help with basic legal terms also.
Yeah, terminology.
Like, don't go write a whole MSA that's very specific to all the things, but offer letter verbiage can be helpful. Handbook verbiage can be helpful. Company policies, company procedures, how-to documents.
Yeah.
Literally one thing I do to make how-to documents now is I will get an audio transcription of myself talking through the whole process, throw it into GPT, and be like, create an SOP. Boom, done.
So we've talked a lot about some of the things we can do with it. We also know that there's some gotchas.
Yes.
And I'm all about the gotchas. I'll just be honest with you. I'm like I wouldn't be anyway. But there are gotchas, right? And one of the things that concerns me, and I want to put this out there, is that we don't know everything we need to know yet about AI. Here's the thing. It's an ever-evolving thing. I mean, how many, what rev are we up to on Claude? 6, 7, something like that? I remember when Claude 5 got released and they said, oh, Claude 6 is like 2 weeks out or something like that. The point is that it's an evolving thing, and I'm not an early adopter, I'll say that. It's just not my way. I use AI tools and so forth, but I'm not the first person jumping on the bandwagon. And I'm concerned about how there seems to be a real rush to AI in HR. And we know from things that we've seen, heard, written, that not even the AI developers are entirely sure where this thing is going, right? And those are the people making the product. And so I really, really want to exercise, I want us as HR people to really exercise a degree of caution that is not currently being supported by our corporate or federal leaders around AI adoption. I grew up in the Cold War. I grew up reading science fiction in the Cold War. And I especially gravitated towards things like artificial intelligence gone wild, right? And it's corny, and people will laugh at me for this, but we don't know for sure what it's going to do because nobody's putting any brakes on it.
Cyberdyne.
Cyberdyne, right? A word of caution about, AI. I mean, it's fascinating. It's great. As a kid growing up, I probably would have really loved to have an AI agent sitting next to me saying, Terry, you're really a pretty cool guy. And, let me help you with this problem and all that stuff, right? But as an adult, I have to just, let's take a deep breath, everybody, because it has limitless potential, and that can cut a lot of different ways. That's all I'm saying.
I think you're absolutely right, and it's a lot to unpack, which I think we'll do on our next episode.
Yes, by all means. Having said all that, coming up next, more on the subject of the concerns that AI can create for us.
We are going to dive deeper into some of our concerns and cautions around the use of AI, especially in the HR space. So stay tuned.
You've been listening to Primal HR. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Join the conversation on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook at Primal HR Podcast. Show notes and more at primalhrpodcast.com. Got a topic idea or want to join us on the show? Reach out at primalhrpodcast@gmail.com. We'll see you next time.